I'm thinking about life and how basically impossible it is for life to exist the way it does today. Because we're just humans, for example, forgetting all the other life for now, just humans. A human is born and is a baby, and there's no baby that's been born that I'm aware of that can take care of itself and keep itself warm and feed itself, etc. Yet here we are, and we're producing babies in that fashion. So obviously, the first humanity didn't come about in this way. It didn't come about from being a baby and somehow raising itself. It's very frustrating that life can't possibly exist, and yet it exists. Human life is what I'm talking about specifically, but I suppose that applies to all life. It's annoying that there basically can never be a solution, never be an answer to how it could be possible. Life just spontaneously exists. I am wondering if we will bump into other life forms. I think that's highly unlikely. But it is so irritating to not understand how we could possibly be here. There is no possibility of it happening, and the only way it could happen has been postulated by religions. I used to discount religions very much. I had no time for them. But in recent times, I'm beginning to wonder if there is no alternative but to a divine being. It seems so unreasonable to imagine that life could spontaneously develop somehow. In other words, a divine being seems more plausible than some organic way of life beginning. But at the same time as saying a divine being makes sense, is also completely irrational. So it's a massive contradiction. I am surprised, though, how so many people on earth are swayed by religion. It seems there's a need within people to explain their existence. There is a need within people to not believe life came about by itself. I'm not sure why this need exists, to be honest. I don't mind, for example, not thinking about how we came about very much. I don't mind it being a mystery. But I know many people derive comfort from thinking there's an explanation for how they can exist. As I say, I'm happy to not worry about how I came to be, how it could be possible. So while I don't worry, I still think on it. I still wonder about it. I'm trying to imagine a universe that exists somehow and life forming somehow. And of course, it doesn't make sense at all. But I am surprised that we don't seem too concerned about it, to be honest. We seem to just get on with our lives and not think very much about where we came from. We still have religion, which has a large part in our life. So it could be that we do care about where we came from and we think we've handled it with religion. But then there are different religions and different religious ideas. And these religions often compete with each other and conflict with each other. There are religious wars. So people do care about where they came from and what it's all about. I think I've said before that I really can't believe that humanity is the only life that there is. I think it's unreasonable to think that. But what I'm also wondering is how life figures in importance in the universe. We, as the incarnation of life, we believe we're quite significant and that we matter. And that we matter more than all the other forms of life that there are. And we also matter more than inanimate objects. So we, as humans, think we're quite significant. But I'm wondering if that's true. It could be we don't matter at all. We could be the equivalent of bugs. We think we're important, but maybe that isn't the case. So I have been wondering about that. I'm wondering what other forms of entity can be more important than us. I hesitate to say other forms of life because life might not be the whole story. We think that life is everything, that we have life and inanimate objects. We think that's the whole story. But I'm thinking it's not necessarily the whole story. There could definitely, I would think, be another entity which is very different to life and very different to inanimate objects. Our only conception is life and inanimate objects, but that doesn't mean that's the whole story. And that makes me think about ghosts and whatever. There is another entity that's different to inanimate objects and different to life. It's very frustrating to not have the answer. And I'm wondering that as much as we develop whatever, and as many billions of us as there are, I'm wondering if we can ever know the truth. Or will it be forever a mystery where we came from? When I consider what we know now as a society to what we knew 500 years ago, for example, there's been a huge advance in knowledge. And the same applies going forward. 500 years from now, what will we know? What could we discover? It is frustrating to be in a zone like we are now where we are still learning a lot, but there's so much more to be learned.